Robin Rivnats. Next, we're going to take a look at how to set up a Lync meeting room. Now, you might ask, what is a Lync meeting room and why should I set one up? What a Lync meeting room is, it's a pre-designed, purposeful space to have a meeting with multiple people. So maybe it's a webinar that you're going to host. You would want to create a Lync meeting room. Or it might be a time as a teacher you might want to host tutorials for your students online and have your students actually join into that meeting room. Or maybe even you're going to do a parent conference and you want to invite parents into a meeting room. It'll be a purposeful place that you set up in Lync where you can schedule this, and you could either come back to the same room over and over again, or there might be times where you just need to set up a specific meeting time where that room is only active and is going to work during that specific meeting. So let's take a look at how you would actually set up these Lync meeting rooms. There's a couple of ways to do anything like always, but the best way to set up a meeting room will be to set it up through Outlook. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Outlook on my computer. And notice I'm in my calendar feature. So if you open it and you're in Mail, then just go ahead and choose Calendar. And this is where you could actually come in and set a meeting. Now notice when I have my cursor clicked anywhere on my calendar, I can pick any date and time. I have an option up here that says New Lync Meeting. Right here on my ribbon, New Lync Meeting. So if I select New Lync Meeting, I'm going to get this window pop up, and it's going to basically create a meeting space for me. Now, if I wanted to invite specific people to that meeting, I could type their email addresses right here and invite someone to that meeting room. And that way, me and those people actually got an appointment on our calendar that we specifically wanted to do a meeting at 10 o'clock, and we were going to be using Lync to do it. There will be times where you want to just create an open meeting room. Maybe this is like for a tutorial and you're doing student tutorials. You might just create a Lync meeting room on your calendar, but it's the same meeting space that you will come to every week for your students to come in and join a tutorial. So in that instance, I wouldn't actually invite anyone, because it doesn't really matter what time I actually create the room. I can keep coming back to it over and over all year long if I so choose. So let's take a look at how you would actually get people to join this meeting. Number one, we said we could invite them, but if I wanted to invite students to a tutorial, what I would do is I would create this room, and notice down here it says Join Lync Meeting. This is actually a hyperlink, and when I hover my mouse over it, you can see that a URL will appear. So what I would need to do is I would need to give this URL to my students for them to join. Now that URL is really long, and so for a student to have to remember and type in all those characters would be pretty difficult. So the best way to do that would be to actually just right click on that link and choose to go ahead and copy that hyperlink. So when I copy that hyperlink, it basically copied that really long URL, and then I would open up a site that would allow me to shorten that URL. My favorite URL shortener is bit.ly, but there's many of them out there. But on bit.ly, on the website, I can just now paste in that long URL and click shorten, and what's going to happen is it's going to take that long URL and it's going to make a really short, concise URL. So now instead of typing that really long one, I just have this little short one right here, and now I might post this on my teacher webpage or my blog, or I might email my students and say, hey, here's the link to actually join our tutorials later. So that's how you would get the URL, and that's how you would have people join a room without having to specifically invite them. Now, when you actually are having people join your meeting room, you might want to actually manage some options in that meeting room. So as the owner or the creator of that meeting room, I have next to where it says Join Lync Meeting, I have a little button that says Meeting Options. And when I select this, I can specifically choose what I want the people in the meeting to be able to do. So notice that by default it says that by default no one has to wait in the lobby of the meeting room. That means that when they click on that URL, they are instantly in that meeting room. They could instantly start speaking to each other, typing to each other, and whatnot. It's an open space, or open workspace. If I didn't want, let's say, maybe students joining that room before I, as their teacher, was in that room, then what I could do is I could say only me, the meeting organizer, has access to the room until I choose to allow others in. So if I join with that URL and my students join with that URL, then they're going to be on their screen, it'll say please wait in the lobby until your teacher has admitted you in. or the meeting organizer, which would be me. And then when I'm in there, I could see all of the users starting to jump into the room, and I could choose to allow them to enter. So that's how you would manage who's in the room. If I say no restrictions, then again, they would instantly be in that room, and people could use that room as an open workspace. Now, other options I can set also is to allow who's a presenter. So I can choose, again, by default it says that anyone from our organization can be a presenter, or I can say only me, the meeting organizer, I'm the only one who's going to be a presenter and everybody else just joins as an attendee. Or I can choose to say that I want to specifically choose presenters. So I might choose a student to be a co-presenter, or I could also select choose presenters here, and I could add who my attendees was a presenter, so I could add and remove people that way. Now the other option that you have that you might want to look at when you're creating a meeting is are you going to limit your participation of your audience? So the first option allows me to mute all attendees. That means that they won't be able to come off of mute, they won't be able to speak unless I choose to unmute them. But by default, everybody coming into the room would be muted. And then I have another option to block their video. So if I didn't want them to be able to turn on their video, that's also an option there that I could choose to have selected. Now if I don't select those, then basically everybody would be able to control their own microphones and their own video cameras. Now at any point in time, since I am the actual meeting presenter, I could force mute someone. I could basically turn their webcam off if they turned it on, if I had allowed those permissions. So really you kind of have to think about the purpose of your meeting room. Do you want it a place where multiple people can come off of mute and share their thoughts and ideas, or is it a place where you're just sharing information but you just want other people to be just listening and able to access the chat window? So make that decision, and then you can set your permissions accordingly. So that's how you would actually set some restrictions and some permissions inside these Lync meeting rooms. For other videos on how to use Lync in your classroom or for professional reasons, please check out the other videos on our iCafe blog. Thanks.